resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my next level friends. Super happy to have you here in the Artist Next Level podcast. It's been such a crazy last couple of weeks. Been very busy with the newest project, Sergio Gomez Curates, that I shared in the last episode. We had the opening of the show called Red Is, and it was great. It was amazing. So in this episode, I figured I want to talk a little bit about, the curatorial practice and the curatorial art career that I also have. And I realized the other day, actually just a few days ago when I was planning this episode, like in all 200 and something episodes of the Artist Next Level podcast, I have really never talked about my own curatorial practice. And so I thought about, this episode I think is a good one to talk a little bit about that, the process of curating, working with artists, selection of artists, those types of things, which could always help you as well as an artist. And, something that as an artist myself, I never quite understood a whole lot until I became a curator myself as well and was on the other side of the table and all the dynamics that, that happened with that. So being now a curator for so many years, where I started my curatorial career at the Joby Art Center here in Chicago, which is a beautiful facility, beautiful art center in the south side of Chicago. Two big galleries that been working with, and now because of the pandemic, we are still have a show, but we are not having as many shows as we used to. We don't have right now big openings as we used to. I mean, right before the pandemic, I was used to every month, every third Friday, there was a big event, open house. Not necessarily always a new show, but there was always something happening, maybe a closing of a show or the opening of another or some sort of event. There was always an open house for the last 16 years, non-stop, every third Friday, year-round. All of a sudden, all that came to a halt, with the pandemic. And of course, now as we slowly begin to open up and things like that, it's going to take a while before it goes back to what it used to be. But, we're not just sitting waiting to see what happens. Something that I've been quite active, in recent months is thinking about my own curatorial practice, right? Figure now, how is that going to take shape in this new world, in this new reality that we all have? And even as the world continues to open and as things eventually open up, how my curatorial practice should continue and should move forward. So that kind of brings me to the last episode, which I don't know if you heard, the last episode, but I talk about this new kind of venture, this new platform that I had opened up that's called Sergio Gomez Curates, which is a totally independent platform. It's not associated to any gallery, museum, or institution. It's just me. That's why it's called Sergio Gomez Curates, where I work on selecting and creating exhibition opportunities for artists, independent of anything else. And the whole premise of that initiative is that Sergio Gomez Curates will not charge artists for submission and will not also charge artists if they get selected into the show. Because as you all know, it could be very expensive when you enter a jury show. You're paying $20, $30, $40, $60, $70, sometimes even $90, super a lot of money. And if you don't get in the show, you lose that money. Well, in this case, I didn't want money to be part of the equation. What I wanted to do is really bring more awareness to the artist's work, to what's happening right now using the latest technology that we have available online, to present exhibitions that are fully curated, not just a page with pictures, but really an immersive, experience. And that's what Sergio Gomez Curates is all about. So super excited because the very first show opened up last Sunday. So February 14th, we had the opening of the show Red Is, and it was amazing. We had visitors from all over the world visiting the page, which is at www.sergiogomezcurates.net. That's where you can go and visit it at any time. And in that website, the first show is already up. So up and running, fully functioning, 65 artists represented in the show. It's an exhibition where as you go into the page, it's very simple. You get there There's a button to enter the exhibition, and when you enter, it's a three-dimensional environment. It's a virtual environment, so it emulates an actual space where you walk into. So if you are on the phone, you use your finger to navigate. If you are on a computer, you use the mouse, and you can navigate through the gallery, almost like a video game, in a way. But it's really great because you can click on any artwork of your choice. It will move the software will move you right in front of the artwork. You can click on the panel that shows you all the information about the artist, the details, even a contact button where you can contact the artist if you want. Follow the artist on Instagram. That's how I set it up, so that people can just follow the artist or contact them directly. And you can also, if you have fun with that, if you can navigate through the whole show. There are three main big galleries in this particular show, Red is. So the show is divided into three sections. You can walk through them just kind of almost as a museum as you walk through different gallery spaces. So the exhibition is divided in that way. Carefully selecting every work, where it was going to be, what's going to be next to what. And it's been a really great experience. And even for those who may not be really good with technology, or they just can't figure out how to move around the gallery, you can click on the panel and say start tour, guided tour. And the guided tour takes you work by work automatically, hands-free. You don't have to touch it. The screen will automatically just take you to each piece up close so you can see them in detail, and then take you to the next. And you can sit down with a cup of coffee, or your glass of wine, or whatever is your favorite drink, and just enjoy the show. And you can pause it at any time if you want to see something closer, if you want to see who the artist is. And it's great. It is great. So it's a great platform. It works really nice. And, that first show, was really well received. And you may have seen the announcements online, or so on. We're really doing a lot of promotion as well, all organic social media. And it's been really, really fun. So that's, kind of what brings me to this conversation that I want to have with you today about, curating in the 2021 and beyond, era, right? Post-COVID. And, how is that going to change and work with us? And I think, as I think myself in my own curatorial career, I think more and more we're going to be seeing initiatives like that. Something that I noticed at the beginning of the pandemic, right? When everything closed down, galleries, museums, everybody ran to the web. Everybody was doing some sort of show online or Zoom, whatever. And then after a few months, I think we all kind of got tired of that, right? Because it was a lot of the same. And I think now it's time, as people got tired and kind of moving back from it a bit, is to, I believe that continuing in that vision, but now making sure that the events that we do create online as virtual, exhibitions, or online only exhibitions, or could be an exhibition that's a companion to an actual exhibition, but that they are, professionally done, really beautifully created, and provide a really great experience. Not just about, oh, shoot, I don't have a gallery right now where I can open up, so I'm just going to just put everything online, and that's it. I think that was the reaction at the beginning. I think now it's time to step back and say, okay, now let's bring the quality back into the experience, right? And that's what I'm seeing. That's kind of why I'm taking these steps myself, and this whole Sergio Gomez Curates initiative, is for that. So we have big plans to continue doing more exhibitions and continue featuring artists. This particular show, Red is. Here's the crazy thing. In the last episode, I did the call for artists. I announced the call for artists. We only had a call for artists open for 6 days. So I really wanted a quick deadline. I didn't want artists to make new art for the call. I wanted to, if this is a call for you, you have work that fits, send it. You don't have to make new art. You send what you have if it fits the call. So we had about 1,050 something art submissions that came in through the website, through sergiogomezcurates.net. Over 1,000 works that started coming in really fast. So, every day I was going through my emails, checking, making notations, envisioning the exhibition, and, how the different works were going to play together. So it was a lot of work. I was thinking, well, maybe because it's the first one under Sergio Gomez Curates, and it's only online, and it's it's just the first one, and it's just 6 days that the call is open. It's not like typically you have 2 months or something where you see it and then people continue. It's like only 6 days, and that's it. That's all you have. So I was totally blown away by the response of artists, from around the world. And out of the 65 artists that were selected, they represent over 20 different countries from literally around the world. Asia, South Africa, all over across the United States, North America, South America, Europe, Asia. So it's really fascinating and really interesting, to see the huge response that this had. And then working really hard to have the exhibition and the level of curatorial also vision in the show that I think really was what helped all the artists to be very proud to be part of the show and very excited to be in the show. And also I want to mention, the selection process. How do I select an exhibition when there's a call for artists, as there will be many more under this initiative and other things that I'm always doing anyway. But when I look at selecting artwork for an exhibition, it's not based solely on a work of art where is my let's say the top works that I think are the best necessarily, but I'm always thinking about the actual exhibition experience, how the works are going to play with each other. Sometimes as I'm reviewing the different entries for a submission, there's 2 works that come across that I'm like, these 2 have to be together. They have a really wonderful playfulness. It will create a really great conversation between these 2 pieces. I can imagine these 2 pieces, or these 3 or 4, being together in a single wall. There's some thematic elements, or there's some visual elements. There's something that brings them together, and that sometimes is what makes that particular selection of those works into the show. So I think it's important for me to share this because I have never shared this before on a public setting like my podcast or my my videos. Because a lot of times when we think when you are curating a show, you're picking your favorite pieces and then you figure out where to put them. And yeah, that's one way in which a lot of people do it, but that's not when I'm curating a show. And not when, that I'm in charge of, that I'm physically figuring out where the artwork is going to go. It's about the whole show in itself. It's about the whole experience, not judging one work at a time, but thinking about, the sequence of the flow in the exhibition. So, and every show is different. Every show will vary. For example, this show with Red S, I really wanted to also have a wide variety of styles, wide variety of ideas, wide variety of ways of working. Unfortunately, I was only able to work with 2-dimensional artwork because since it's a 3-dimensional, kind of a space, a virtual space, if you put a sculpture, you cannot do it with just one picture. It needs to be, photographed special way all around and things like that. It gets super complicated, which we are not there yet. But right now, that's why they're kind of limited to 2-dimensional work. But, the selection process of looking at this for the whole show and looking at, the variety of works that I wanted to have, the variety of artists I wanted to have, the variety of mediums I wanted to have. I didn't want all paintings or all photographs. Now, the majority of the show is painting based, well, because that was the majority of the submissions, right? The 95% of the submissions were paintings, and only a small fraction of them were photographs. But I included some photographs because they were amazing. And I love, for example, there's one corner in the virtual exhibition where there's a photograph paired with a painting, and they play really beautifully. It's an abstract painting, and it's a photograph that, again, it really plays really nice with it. It has some abstraction elements that also kind of playfully kind of creates a great conversation between the pieces. So that's kind of like, what I'm thinking about when I'm curating the exhibitions. And so if you're an artist that you submitted to Red S and you did not make it into the show, well, first of all, I want to say, sorry about that. impossible to fit all the works that I really like and that I really wanted. At some point as a curator, you make some make some caps. How much space do I have? How many artworks can I fit? Well, and as you go through the material, depends on sizes too. And it's funny because I had some artists who replied to me and said, "Hey, Sergio, if it's a virtual show, why does size matter? You can put as many pictures as you want." Well, not really, right? When somebody doesn't understand the vision that you have, things sometimes don't make sense. They thought that maybe it was just to be an online show, being a website with a lot of pictures of artwork and then information about each artwork. Well, that's not what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning an actual three-dimensional space where you virtually walk through the gallery, right? That's kind of what I was looking for. That's what I was looking at in creating. So size did matter. And actually, as you curate, you have certain parameters as well, certain limitations that sometimes have put yourself, by the situation, like space or, lighting or whatnot, or also in this case, even in a virtual space, restrictions or limitations that you put yourself for the curatorial purpose of the vision that you have for the show. So in this particular exhibition, I had also a minimum size requirement, which was artwork had to be no less than 32 inches or 81 centimeters in size. That was minimum size. Surprisingly, I got a lot of submissions also that were, way too small, even though we had it in bold in the homepage, we had it in bold and also in the in the submissions page, and we couldn't really make it more visual attractive, but it happens. And again, even some artists send me emails, "Hey Sergio, why you don't like small art?" Or there's always all these like conversations, which I laugh, with all due respect. I welcome those emails, but again, it's always about the vision that I have, and when you don't understand the vision, it's hard to figure out why those choices are made. So specifically, I wanted large work because the gallery setting that I had selected for this particular exhibition is quite large. It's quite large in three-dimensional space. It's quite large. Has really tall walls, like really high ceilings. So if you have really small art, it will look minuscule, when added to that particular 3D gallery that I selected. There are other, layouts that are much better suited for a small work, which I will use also in perhaps in other shows. But for this particular one, it was really important, the size has some sort of consistency as you travel to the exhibition. And also because the color red is one of those colors that takes up a lot of visual space. So I really wanted to have the pieces spread out in the show. I didn't want artwork to be tight. I go to a lot of these virtual exhibits sometimes that I've seen around, and sometimes they're like crammed with too much stuff. They're like an art fair. Well, this was not the idea. I didn't want to make it to look into an art fair. More like if you're walking into a museum or a professional gallery where every artwork has its own space. Every artwork deserves its wall, deserves its space around it for the better viewing and experience of those who are looking at the artwork, right? So that's kind of like, my thinking as I continue this process of, working with Sergio Gomez Curates and looking at the possibilities. The way this started, just one day I woke up and like, well, I think I'm going to do this. This may be a fun idea. And then I share it with my wife. She's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So, of course, then it's like, how do I pay for it, right? Because you make it free, but then for everybody else, but how do you sustain it? Because you will need people to help you. You need the time. You need also all the technology that goes around it. So at the end, we decided the Art Next Level Academy, which is also part of who supports this podcast, the Art Next Level, which is my coaching program. That was going to be the main sponsor for the show. That doesn't mean that in the future I may not have other sponsors, which I may bring in. I may bring in also guest curators. But the idea is that to always have it free for the artists to submit, and if they are selected, to participate. And all the promotion, all the marketing, and all that is through sponsor base. So right now it's sponsored by the Art Next Level Academy. And that way we can run it, we can do it, have a lot of fun. We got the domain, we build the website, we put it up, and it's fascinating. It's been really great. So I invite you to check it out, sergiogomezcurates.net. And by the way, the next show that's coming up, and the call for artists is going to start. It's going to open on Wednesday, February 17th. And it's a show that's called Isolated Chronicles. Isolated Chronicles. It's looking back at 2020, the year of when we all got hit with the pandemic, and the artwork that was produced during that year. But the show is not about art that was made necessarily during the pandemic, but artwork that reflects on the isolation that we all experience. Artwork that documents it in a way, reflects on it, tries to make sense out of it, reacts to it, comments on it, on that isolation. Because at the end of the day, as artists, we all work in isolation. We all work in our studios with pandemic or without pandemic. So the point is not just to have that, but artwork that in a very direct way, speaks about that isolation that we all experienced in 2020. So keep an eye. Just visit SergioGomezCurates.net if you want to check it out. By the way, if you are in the show Red is right now, you cannot enter this show, which is, again, another of those limitations that I put myself for the shows. Like if you are featured in a current exhibition, you cannot enter another one until you are done, until your show that you're in is over. So if you are in the Red is exhibition, you cannot participate or submit. I mean, you can submit, but you will not be selected for sure for the exhibition of Isolation Chronicles, because of that. I don't want artists to have double promotion at the same time. So that's just how it is, right? It's another one of those choices that I made. And to keep things simple for myself. I really want to do this as much streamlined as possible, so it all works nice and smooth. So check it out. I will also be doing a curatorial walk through the Red Is exhibition. So I will be announcing that on social media. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Sergio Gomez Art. I'm going to be doing probably like a Zoom gallery walk with the curator, where I'll talk about some of the pieces in the show, some of my selections and ideas behind the exhibitions, which should be pretty fun. And since it's on Zoom, you can join from anywhere in the world, right? Which will be really fun. So I hope, my friend, this kind of quick episode today helps you to get a little bit inside my curatorial mindset, which I rarely talk about in a setting like this one. So hopefully this kind of gives you some ideas as you go and you see the show. You're like, oh, okay, now I see what Sergio was talking about, right? You can see the possibilities that this could all bring. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate, again, your support on this new initiative. Go and check it out. Share it with your friends. SergioGomezCurates.net. If you visit the show, we'd love to hear what you think of it. Let me know what you think of it. I'm gonna be trying also probably other. I'm not gonna say too much. Other good things that may be coming up also in the future that are panning out right now. So. If you want to submit for that exhibition, the Isolation Chronicles, just go to the website, go to Calls for Artists, and you'll see it right there. Super easy to find. You can also drop there your name and email if you want to be on our mailing list to receive invitations for shows and calls for artists and virtual events that we'll be doing as well. So thanks again for your time, my friend. Hope to see you very soon. It's been a crazy week here in Chicago. A lot of snow and very cold. So hope you're staying warm or cold, wherever you may be at in the world today. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you. Have a great day. And don't forget, I will see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.